everyone, welcome back to class number 3 of our tutorial on painting a toddler. So I'm really excited to get back to it all with you guys. So before I actually get started, I wanted to give a bit of a shout out to my fantastic YouTube members. They're the people that have actually clicked that join button. You'll see just here on screen. So if you click that join button, you can become a member of our YouTube family here. And for a small fee, you'll see all the fees when you click there, you can actually become a member. And what happens with membership is you actually get to see a little bit of behind the scenes between me and my family. But whenever we have a video release, what happens is you get the first 24 to 48 hours to view that video before the public get to see it. So sometimes it can be really exciting. You wait for that moment and you get to see it before anyone else. So if you've been thinking about it and you want to support our channel, I really appreciate that. It does help me, as you know, well, you don't know, but one of these videos will take about 5 hours to actually complete, from this process here that we're videoing all the way to the process of editing everything and putting it on screen for you guys to see. So it really does make a difference, and I'd appreciate if you join our family. And from time to time things will happen like competitions and stuff, so it will be enjoyable as we go along. So we're doing the video, so very excited. So the next part that we have to do now is creases. So we're going to get started with creases of Liam. He's looking really great. I'm really happy with everything. As I've said before, there's not a lot of difference that you will actually see, but if you look between this and up and that part there, you will notice that there's just a little bit of a difference. But I love this process where we do the creases, because that's when you see it's almost like you see them come to life. You start to see that popping look, a bit of blushing coming through those creases and everything. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, so with this part, what I want to actually show you is a little bit more of the mixing the paints, just in case you're feeling a little bit unsure. You don't need to always see what Annette's doing. Okay, so we've got our Magical Realism Red. Just letting you know, we've got beautiful new labels for all of our Magical Realism paints and the strand by strand range at the moment. So that's been really exciting. It makes them look a little bit more fresh. So all we need for this one is 1 drop of red. That's it, 1 drop. So I'll put that up. Then we've got a thinning medium, and for this we're going to go 3 drops. 1, 2, 3. At that particular moment, I do just give a little bit of mix, nothing much, just to mix that like that. Please excuse me if I cough during this whole process, but I ended up getting unwell again, and so now I'm just trying to get over that. So sometimes my throat gets dry. So now we're going to fill our water into our paint palette. So fill that well with water. And just give it a nice light mix. So that's all it is, and I think that's the best part about this whole paint set, is we used 1 drop, and it really does go a good distance. Please excuse my coughing. It's going to be annoying, I know, but I didn't get the video to you guys last week, and I felt bad about that, so I couldn't risk missing another week with you guys. So I'm just going to use one of the fine liner brushes now, and we also need a blender. I like to use the thin blending brushes for what I'm doing here, and this one looks not too badly used. Once they get really, really bad, let me see if I've got a really bad one. That's not too bad. This is sort of a bit bad. It's sort of really been used a lot and it's getting a bit straggly. So after that, you know, you're best to refresh it. But this is pretty good the way it is. Okay. So all we need to do is go over all of the lines and blend. So I'm going to get up over here so I can show you what I'm doing. So I just put the brush into the paint, take off any excess paint. Now, of course, if you're unsure, use your little test lim, something like this, whatever your test lim you have, paint in your crease and then blend it out. Now, once again, if you're going over your creases and you're not seeing any much result, that's when you need to add maybe another drop of red. It really does depend basically on the size of your well. I'm going to put my hair up because it's so hot today where I am. It's frustrating. Okay, a little hair there on Liam. Okay, so anywhere you see a crease, just do a line. As simple as that. I do a couple at a time. There's 3 lines there. And then we blend them. And blending is just pouncing on your blending brush. That's all it is. Don't go wiping it. If you're wiping it, then you're going to wipe it outwards, and that might create a bigger crease, a longer crease. Pouncing it keeps it in the spot we need it to be. Oh, I just spilled my paint. Yay! I think it happens to everyone, but that's all right. So just so you can see what I'm doing, I do go over each crease a few times. Now, some people might say, well, why wouldn't you just make a dark paint to begin with? Well, personally, I feel I'd rather do the slow burn and go over and over it a few times until I get what I would like, then go crazy and have it too dark and then have a terrible mistake. So I'm going to keep going. It's not really coming too much to my liking yet. And of course, I don't want to go over and over and over it again 10 times, but a few times I do. Always like to do that. So we'll see how that one goes. Okay. Now that is definitely coming up. You should be able to see it there on that side. It's coming up just a little bit, but I'm personally feeling that I would like it to be a little bit more. Let's go do it. Okay, so I'm going to add another drop of red. Mix that up. And of course I do not want it to be too red, so I'm going to make sure just to fill that water well all the way to the top, because I did have a little spill, remember, before. And I don't mind if it spills out, that's why I've got the mats underneath. I don't mind a bit of mess. Okay, so let's see how that goes. Let's watch this one. Hopefully I'm not getting in you guys' way. Now some might say there's not really a crease at the bottom one there, but I see that there's a little dent. There's a dent in the actual, not a dent as a crease as such, but there is a area where it looks like to me that there could be a crease. So I'm actually adding one there. Go over to the other side. Just like that. And blend. Again, keep going over it until you are satisfied. So, I'm going to keep going over mine, but before I do, I'm going to tell you the places that I put creases on. I always do around the edges of the nose here on either side, because obviously there's a crease there. With a smaller brush, at this time I will also get my paint and put some in the nostrils, just like that. And if you obviously, well, not obviously, but if your baby has an open mouth, do all inside the mouth. This baby does have teeth, so I've got to try not to do the teeth, but I need to do the tongue and the upper roof of the mouth. It doesn't matter too much if you do the teeth, because obviously they're going to be painted white later. And just blend it out, just gently. Okay, so the other places I do, obviously anywhere you see a crease, so there's going to go one along the bottom there, all the creases in the ears, and anywhere else you see a crease, even if it's down that lower part of the neck or a lower part of the head there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all the creases on his face now, and then I'll be back to show you. Okay guys, so we're going to start on the limbs now. I ended up not continuing with the other part of the video that you've just seen me doing the head, because I really wasn't happy with the lighting at the time, and it was really upsetting me, and plus I wasn't very well. And then unfortunately it's taken me some time to get back to be able to do the limbs, so I must apologize about that, but I'm here now, so that is the main part, and most of you won't be waiting because you'll be doing this later in the future. So as we did with the creases on the face and the head, you should be able to just see that nice soft red glow in certain areas there. So I'm again going through the whole process and doing all of the creases that you can see anywhere on the hand, arms and the legs. So I'm going to do one arm, and then I'll do one leg. And yeah, just a little bit of homework. By then you should get it yourself, so you can go ahead and do the other arm and leg. A little bit of homework for you there, as my friend Angela says. So yeah, as I said, I just keep painting in the creases. You can see just in that hand there, I've got done in the creases of the finger and just along the side there. And then just blend it with my blending brush, which will give that soft pink glow. I like to say it's sort of like a glow or a shading. So I might speed this up now so you don't have to listen to me talk the whole time. I'm pretty sure that you know what I'm doing. But for those who don't and are a bit unsure about where to do the creasing and things like that, you can continue watching to see where I do it. Like I said, you don't have to do every crease. You can just do the ones you really want to accentuate. But generally, it's pretty nice to do them, because it's just shading them and bringing them a little bit more to life. All right. Okay, so now we're on to the leg. Now, may I remind you, like when you're doing the actual creases, if you're going over them and you're thinking, okay, it's not quite like bright enough for me, I'd like to see more of a nice pink shading in there, or whatever you want, just keep going over that. Like you can do the whole limb and then have a look, decide, and then if you want it like a bit darker, do it again. So this is the time to keep doing it again until you're happy with it. Later on in the tutorial, we will do a second creasing. So don't be too scared if you think, okay, I'm sort of happy with it, but I'm not. We will come back and do more later. But it is the time now. If you wish to go ahead, you can keep continuing over the same creases and you will find that they'll richen up more. And also as they do set, I don't know how well you can see in there, but as they do set, they do start to darken up just that smidge, just a little bit more, where you can tend to see it. It's like it's their curing process time. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, but if you are a heat setter, it's pretty much the same doing this as what you're doing with heat set. You'll just be using a Genesis red, and with the Genesis red you'll use one swipe of the Genesis red, put it in your palette, and then fill up the rest of that palette with your odorless solvent, and that's basically it. You'll be doing everything exactly the same way we're doing it now. All right, so let's get to the creasing on the legs. As again, I'm going to do one leg, and the second leg will be your homework to do. So again, we're just going over all the creases, just taking our time. You know, I always suggest, you know, putting on a little bit of relaxation music and just taking your time and enjoying your own private space. Of course, you're watching me at the moment, but, you know, watch it through and then, you know, then just put it aside and put on some relaxation music or something that you really enjoy. I know someone like Patricia would put on Elvis. Go, Patricia. So, you know, we all have our different avenues of what sort of creates a great workspace for us, a work environment where you're really, really happy just to keep working. And you might even have a friend that you love to have over, and that makes you feel motivated to do the work. So it's always nice just to get yourself in that great headspace and then just work. So after I do these limbs, I will show you the completed version of all of them. I am personally going to go and do a second crease on all of my limbs once I finish them, because I like them just to be a little bit more glowy, I could say. So I will be doing that. So no hidden agendas here. I'm not going to run away and say, oh my god, that's how it is done. No, I will be going back and doing a second one, but you don't need to see that because you'll be watching videos all day of me just painting, which is boring. So after I finish this leg, I'll be doing my other leg and then going and doing them all over again, just to make sure that you get to see. It's also for you guys too, so you get to see what the creases are looking like. And then we'll be going on to a different part of the tutorial. So yep, just sit, and I'm going to speed this all up for you now, and then you'll see where I got to. Okay, so I hope you did really, really well with your creasing. I love my creasing. Like I told you at the end of last part of creasing, I was going to go over all of my creases and brighten them up just a little bit more, and I'm really glad I did. So just remember, when all you're painting, less is more. So start off with less and gradually make it the way you want it. Of course, if you go more, it's harder to bring it down to make it look like something more like you really want. So less is more. Just keep going over it. Put your relaxation music on and just go for it. Okay, so we're still working through the book, so just let you know that. We're now going to do some blue features. So when we talk about blue features, if you ever look at a baby as such and you see, you know, that they've got some maybe bluing around the eyes or just above the mouth when they need some winding, it's basically all those points which are a little bit lower, so they've got more shading. So if you look on Liam as such, you can see already there, this sort of area in the temple is like a lower part. You could already see it's darkened because it's lower. In that sort of section up here about the eyes, you can see it there. You can see it a little bit here. So anyway, you can see darkening, but you don't want to go over the top, okay? So we're going to go with this now. Heat setters, we're just going to use, I'm using a Phthalo Blue. So I would suggest, I believe it's a Phthalo Blue 02 you can use for the Genesis paints. And it's pretty much very similar to what I'm about to do. So with the Phthalo Blue, I'm going to use 1 drop. So if you're a heat setter, I would be suggesting to use just a small end tip swipe. So like, if say this is my jar, I'd be just going like a little end tip swipe. Now, why I say that is blue is really strong, and it's really like, if you go even a little bit too much, your baby will look really blue, and you know, you don't want an avatar baby as such, but it'll just start to look a bit too much. Okay, so then I'm going to use 3 drops of the thinning medium. Heat setters, you won't need to use this, of course. 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to give that a small premix there. And then I'm going to fill my water well with the water. Now, obviously, heat setters, you're going to be filling your water well, your well, with odorless solvent. Okay, so just give that a mix around. So what we're looking for is just a nice translucent blue. Again, I've got my testing limb here, nice and handy, so I can show you. Take off excess paint and I can just paint it on there, and you can sort of see what it is. We're actually going to be blending, so as long as it doesn't blend too bleh, if you know what I mean. So that one is actually fine. I don't know how well you can see it. It's very, very light. We want it to be very, very light. Again, less is more. Let's go with less is more. So I'm going to work with you about where I like to do my darkening. I really love the look of babies with the bridge of the nose darkened. Not bruised, but just darkened. So I'm going to go across the bridge of the nose there and blend it with my blending brush. Again, what we suggest with the air dry paints, best to use a blending brush. But with the heat set paints, it seems to work better if you're using a cosmetic wedge, and ripped off to give it a little bit of texture. Now that is really, really light. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to go over it. Sorry, I am still battling with my cold. So yeah, I will have to still go over that. Other parts, let's go with the temples. You can generally look at your kit and you can see all of the low points. I can see just above Liam's eyebrows here, it looks like a low point. So I will do that. Sometimes I can do it just like a little bit just to start that bluing process, but I won't go over it again. When other parts, such as that bridge of the nose, I'm going to go over again just to really reinforce a little bit of blue there. So as I said, you won't be able to really see a lot of difference here. mainly because my blue is just a little bit too light. Now you could say, well, Annette, just go and add a little bit more blue, another drop of blue to your mixture. But I can guarantee you adding another drop of blue will send it overboard. It will really send it overboard. You could probably add a little half drop if you wanted, but I really prefer the less is more approach. So just taking my time, going over that same spot and bringing it up as I want. Another place I'll go over again is the ears. Now this is an important part because doing a bit of blue over the red we've already got in will start to give it like a blood tone shading, and it really gets that, like just like our ears, there are sort of darkened shade in there. It's darker than our outer ears. Well, this will really bring it up. And for those of you who hate doing ears and feel like they never get the right color, this will definitely give you the right color. So it's basically just having the red shading in there when we were doing the creases, and then bringing some blue into there to richen that red up. And I guarantee you it will look like a perfectly shaded ear. So we also need to go in the nostrils, so get a smaller brush. Sorry, my brushes are just down beside me here because it made the table look like a mess. And it was confusing. I hate confusing. So just a smaller brush and dip that blue inside the nostrils. Once again, this will also, just like the ears, it'll deepen the nostril. You know, back in the day, we used to drill out the nostril to make them get that dark impression. But many people weren't doing it right. We're ruining their kits by, you know, drilling the wrong angle or drilling too much, and it would take out too much of the nostril. So the better way was to then use the paints to darken it. And when you do the red and then add the blue, it really makes a deeper, richer look. So, I mean, you can already see that it looks darker. It just looks deeper. Deeper is the word. I'm also going to put the blue on the tongue and inside the mouth. And you'll notice as I was going, I wasn't really doing anything on the lips. That's because, so we started doing the red inside the mouth, and now I'm going to do the blue. Now you can imagine that's going to bring it up like a richer red. So blue on top of red makes more of a richer blood red, I find. So then I'll do that a few times, and then when I get to the lips, of course, they're not going to be as dark as inside the mouth. So if you look inside my mouth, it's darker than my lips, and that's what we need to do. So that's why we do this effect now, and then later we come up, richen those lips up. You might have a certain color you want to go with, and they will look different. We want to make sure the inside of the mouth looks different than the lips. So we'll just go and do that. Inside, oops, of course I dropped my brush. Let's try that again. Now I do give the kit a little bit of a squeeze to make that baby open the mouth a bit more. Now don't be too scared. If you've got the right color blue, you have nothing to be scared about. Now I am going to paint over Liam's teeth, just because they're a little bit hard to dodge, and I figure, well, later I'm going to be coming over them and painting white, so that's fine. So now with your blending brush, make sure it's your thin blending brush, get in there and just lightly pounce. Don't go like this, because you'll find that blue then will come onto your lips. I put it in the mouth and I just lightly tap it. I hardly lift it. Okay, so it's coming up darker, which is really, really nice. So I've got to look at all the other places on this baby that I want to darken up. I feel on that top of the chin area here, could go with a little bit. I've just put a little bit too much there, but that's all right. I'll just get that and bounce it off for a bit. Make sure you have things around you that if you have put a little bit too much excess paint on, you can quickly mop it up. I've got tissues there. I've got old cosmetic wedges that, you know, maybe the tops I've torn off when I'm heat painting. baby wipes. I've got a few things around. So that's just a mop-up type thing. Have them ready. I'm going to go over that temple again. I'm going to leave it sit. You'll see sometimes I leave it sit just an extra second just to let that colour sort of catch onto the vinyl and soak in a bit better. Okay, so just so I'm not sort of keeping you guys staring at this whole process, I know that you want to see it to the best of your ability, but we do need to move on to the legs and the arms. So I will be going over, I've just gone over the temples again, and they are starting to look a bit darker, which I like. And of course we don't want them to be Smurf blue or anything like that. We literally want it to be like a really light, almost like a light blue bruising, very, very light. We don't want it to look like a bruise, but just that color. I mean, you can see it if you look on your inner hand or on your wrist. You'll see what I mean by that color. It's just a little bit bluish without looking sick. So I think I will be finished the temples. I can see enough of that. I'll definitely be putting some more on my inner ear to richen that up again. The nostrils and the mouth I'll be doing again. I feel pretty good about everything else. Like I said, you have to look at your kit and what you can see. Whatever looks like a low point, like a valley. A valley is a good way to put it. So if you were looking at two mountains and down in the valley was the river or something, that would be the darker point. So even down behind the ears here, I can notice that there's a darkening or a divot, sort of a valley. And in this part here, the back of the head, now that probably won't be seen because it is going to be behind the hair, but you can definitely see that valley there. So I'm just going to blend those and leave it at that. Of course, I'll show you when I'm all done, but I will be going over them again. So we'll go on to the hands and the legs so you can see the arms and the legs. I will do one of each again, and the other two, just like before, is your homework to continue with. Okay, so when we look at, like, say, the hands, you've got to, you know, think about, again, where you would see dark points. I do definitely like to see something darkening happening between that thumb and finger there. So I'm just going to put some in there. Just tap it in there. Even at the bottom of each connection of finger. Not too much, just in this sort of part here. Just so it gives the effect of something darkening. And also in the little dimples on the hands there, I like to sort of really make them look like they're a little bit deeper. I just do that. You don't have to. And make sure you blend. Make sure your blending brush is dry too. We don't want excess water or anything on that. Always be clearing it out. So it's not much. We can't see much there yet, but you should see a little bit after when I've re-gone over that. So for the front of the hand or the top of the hand, that's all I would do, just in those bottom of those fingers, the area between the thumb and the finger and the little dimples. Again, you'll see that there's a lot of different marks across the arm. See, like just in here, there looks like it's a low point. It's just the way the artist has actually sculpted the baby. But I feel like because she sculpted it like that, she might have wanted it to be noticed. Now, you don't have to do it, but if you do want to, you know, make it a little bit more obvious, just give it a little paint over and blend it. So it's just like the creases, what I said earlier. If you want to make a crease where there isn't a crease, you can do the same here. All you have to do is paint it and blend it, and it will give that light effect that there is something happening there, making it a bit deeper. Palms of the hand, I always go right to that middle, because if the baby's holding its sort of hand like that, there's a deep point in there. So just go right in the middle. And again, I'll go at the bottom of all the fingers there. Just leave it sit for a little millisecond to sort of catch and blend it in. Now also remember, obviously I said less is more. Blue is a colour that I find sort of as it cures gets a little bit darker. So you don't have to go over and over and over it again. You can leave it as that, and you can sort of let it sit there for 20 minutes, an hour, whatever, and then come back in, see how it's gone, see how it's cured, and then add more if you want. Okay, there's some little dimples on the elbow here, so I'm going to do those. And I often like to get a little bit inside the inside elbow because it's like a dark point. If we close our arm up there, you can see it's a dark point. So just there. And of course, anywhere else you see that you would really like to feature a little bit more. Each artist is different, so no two artists are going to be the same. You might like a feature on your baby more than someone else likes it on theirs. So there's sort of no right or wrong answer there. But of course, if you go doing too much, you know, you might have a baby that's a little bit too blue, and which will also not allow for the other features that you want to try to create. So think about that as you're going. So this is a nice, easy task. It doesn't take too long to do. But of course, you should still be taking your time and really thinking about what you want to achieve from each layer. Okay, so I'm going to leave the other hand. I'll do that myself as my homework. So again, the little dimples in the hand, the bottom of those fingers there where they connect, the center of the palm, again, the bottom of the fingers, inside the elbow. If there's any dimples on the elbow that you would like to feature or any down points, go for it. And any other points that you feel are like valleys, do on your hand and arm. And then let's go on to the leg. So when I'm working with the foot, I love the foot. It's so good. You can really bring it up to look spectacular, like literally. So again, get some paint on my brush. Don't have too much on. With the feet, I like to go in this little part under the toes. So not the rounds of the toes, not here, just the little parts in between. So give them a little bit of paint. There's also that deep point here just underneath the pinky toe. So make sure put a little bit in there. And the only other part I like to go on the underside of the foot is in that arch area there, because I'm going to bring that up to, you know, as we always know, when you see a baby's footprint, you've got the little toes on top and then that meaty part of the foot. The arch and the parts underneath the toes aren't normally visible on a footprint as much. So they're the parts that I want to richen up. So just give them a blend. A very light blend. Don't be pouncing on, because again, you'll get the blue everywhere. You just want to try to keep it within that vicinity. So you'll go very light dabbing. And then, of course, over the arch. I'm losing my voice already, you can tell. This video has taken me 4 weeks to make it. I'm being sick and really busy, but I'm finally trying to push myself. Okay, so then when we go to the top of the foot, again, just depending on where your darkening, shading valleys are, I'll go there in between the big toe. I'm going to go in between each toe, just lightly at the bottom there. I like to go underneath the ankle. That sort of presents the actual ankle part of it a little bit more. And just on the other side again, underneath the ankle. And I'm going to go just at the base of the foot there where I can see a little bit of a valley. Leave that sit for a little millisecond. and blend. Very gently again. We don't want to have blue toes. Under the ankle, other ankle, and that bottom of the foot there. Okay, it's quite good actually. I can already see a result happening, which is great. You should be able to see it too, but don't fret if you can't. Okay, now the leg is a very adventurous thing. There is so many bumps I can see, so many crevices. When you hold it to the light, you'll really see the different shading that the artist has tried to produce. So let's see, I like a little bit of darkening here. So just wherever you see shading. Of course, underneath the back of the legs, it'll be darker. Some are just spot shading, you know, but they will look good. Down the side of the shin there, I can see a darkening. So there's a few places in this one that I can really notice those features. Once again, you don't have to bring those features to light. It's just whether you think you'd like to or not. Just blend them all in. Trying to stay within their own vicinity. So don't forget, obviously, if you're a heat setter, you know what to do. You need to let your paint sit and cure a little bit, dry, and then put it into the oven for the 8 to 10 minutes. Air dryers, you just need to let it sit and rest to cure. And that's all I am doing for that foot. Again, I'm going to do my other leg and my other arm now. Then I'll just have a spot check over to see if I want to richen up any areas. I will be doing inside the ears, inside the nostrils, inside the mouth again. And I'll show you a picture in a second of how it looks. Okay, so how did you go? I hope you went really well on that blue layer. Just as you can see, it's just a subtle look, but you can tell that it is there, which is really, really great. So the last part of this part of our class, of course, we've got many more to go, but we're going to be doing the yellow features. So the yellow features are an opposite to the blue. So when the blue was like your deep valleys that we wanted to create that shading, the yellow will be the tips of your mountains. So anything that looks like a high point. And once again, you can create your own high points if you wish. So we're going to start with the yellow. I'm going to give it a bit of a mix. If you're working with heat set paints, of course, you're just using Genesis yellow, and you're just doing very similar to what we did with the blue. So just the tip of your brush, swipe over with the yellow, put it in your palette, and then fill the rest with the odorless and mix, and it should be a nice translucent look. With the yellow, with the thinning medium, with the magical realism, we're going to use 2 drops. 1, 2. Just remember, you know, like some people use different kind of paints other than magical realism. It is so fine. That's how much I'm using. So it's nothing. It's like literally nothing. I'm going to use 4 drops of my thinning. And then I'm going to fill the rest of that paint well with water. Just like so. All done. Give that a mix around. And again, if you wish to see what it looks like, just get your test slim, paint it on, and blend it out. Actually, that was a bit too much paint. I didn't really wipe it off. Okay, blend it out. And if blending right, you should just see that light shading of yellow, which is fine with me. Oh, it looks like there's some Nico on there. That wasn't part of the deal. Okay, so let's talk about high points. They can be anywhere you want, really. But generally, to start with, generally they would be on the tips of the ears, the tip of the nose, tip of the chin. I often do on the brow, just the brow line. And even you can sometimes do a little dot on each cheek tip, just depending if you want to do that. Generally, we'll come back later and we'll do blushing on the cheeks and everything. But there is a high point there. I don't normally use it very much when I'm doing the yellowing. Okay, so mix the paint, excess paint off. Let's go on to the tips of those ears there, just as so. And blend it out. Of course, remember, yellow is also a very catching colour. And if you do too much yellow, it can mix with the blue and actually look muddy, which you don't want to do. So you want to be careful how you're doing it. And if you go really too much yellow everywhere, you'll get a jaundiced look, which it's hard to counteract. It can be counteracted, it can, but it's just not as easy. So just did a tip on the nose, just a little line on that brow line, and a little bit on the tip of the chin there. And just blend it. I'm going to try to keep my blending brush really tight together. I don't want it to blend like and go all over the nose. I just sort of want it to stay around the tip. So when that's the case, I hold my blending brush tighter so it doesn't spread. Just hold it tighter and just gently dab in the area. You'll get the same effect, but it'll be a little bit more controlled. And just the tip of that chin there. Now remember this, we don't want this to be over the top. We just want it to be, if you look at your own skin tone, you look at a baby's skin tones, there is so many colours on it. It's amazing. And that's what brings up our actual end result of skin and gives us our special features. So we're going to go with them, that's for sure. I'm going to leave that there because that's all I want to do with my yellowing on my Liam kit. I will now go and I'll do the one leg and one arm like I did before, and you will do the other arm and leg as your homework. And then once I'm finished them all, what I do is go back and just see if I want to bring it up just a little bit more, just like I did with the blue. And if I don't, I don't, and we'll show you the end result. But let's keep going. So with the legs, with the feet, I should say, I do sort of try a few different highlights there. And many times I'm using my own sort of areas I want to go. I'm going to go the heel of the foot. I'm also going to go on this upper corner of the foot And you can do some of the tips of the toes. But I don't overdo the tips of the toes because I like to bring them more up with a red tone later. But just a little bit as an undertone. So let's blend those. Again, I'm going to tighten my tip to keep it controlled. And again, like I said before, don't forget the yellow is a lot like blue. It's really leachy. It'll leach in and it will take over. So you may not have to do your second layer because I can already see that's sort of quite obvious. So you can see the yellow down there, just here and on the tips of those toes. Okay, so on my top of my foot, I always go my ankles. Even if you can't see them, just do a little dot there. It will make it look like there's one there. I'm going to go in the knuckle part of my toes. So just a dot. Not much, just a dot. And that's all I need to go there. So again, let's blend that. The ankles. And just any excess fluid off your brush, your blender, and just gently control the brush over the knuckles of your toes. Nice and controlled. Okay, and the only other place I want to go, you can, again, go at any high points that you really want to feature. You can go anywhere over your leg, but I'm just going to go onto the top of my knee. But again, if like there's a little bit of a high point there on the side of that fatty bit of the leg, so I'm going to just do that as well. But that's really all I want to feature. So blend that knee. And blend that little fatty bit on the side of the leg there. And that's all I'm doing on the leg. Now let's go on to the arm. Which one did I do before? Okay, so in the hand or on the palm, I just go on those shoulder sort of corner bits there, just one here and one there. And I'm going to go in the center of the fingers, just a little bit like we do on the upper knuckle. Just that center part, just in there. So if you look at my hand, it's in that middle section, but just gently. Now blend those. Control blend. Very much so control blend on the fingers. We just want to keep in that little region there. It can be a little bit difficult, but just take your time. It's just more fiddly, isn't it? You can get a better brush as well. I do have, like I did with my blue, this one is like a tighter blender compared to this one. So sometimes you can come across ones like that, and they do control it a little bit more. So just make sure I got those right. If you can't control blend, then just tap carefully, really carefully, which will keep your paint in those sections. Top of the hand, we're going to go on all those knuckles. Just a gentle tap, like that. And then from the knuckles, all I want to do is the elbow. I think that's all I'd like to do. Oh, sometimes I do the top of that shoulder, just there. Now let's blend those. Control blend on the knuckles again. Excess fluid off as you go. Okay, and I don't have to control blend as much on the elbow and the top of that shoulder blade. Just giving it a little spot feature as such. And that's it. Now go and do your other leg and your other arm, and after I've done mine, I'll show you what my results are. Okay, so there we are. We've done another class. So congratulations, guys. I'm sure you're doing so great. Thank you again for those who are pretty much waiting for these to arrive on screen, for your patience in my delays. I really appreciate that. They mean a lot to me that you care enough to have that understanding. Don't forget about my YouTube memberships. If you want to join, that will help support Miracle Babies Nursery in creating more videos and creating more ideas for you. If you don't want to do that, there is a one-off applause button which you can press down there, which will just support me for this moment. Thank you so much. Now let's have a look. And next time, our next video, what we're going to be getting into. Now, don't forget, I am following the Magical Realism book. This is to make it really easy for those of you who already have Magical Realism paints. You can follow my words along with the book as well. So next we're going to do the veins. We're going to do the veins, and then we will start on some mottling layers. Now, generally, lately, I don't generally do veins on my babies because I find as I'm mottling, they do give it a bit of a veiny look. But for the purpose of you guys, I will just show you how I do my veins and what I do to create the best look for you. Of course, babies or toddlers do have veins, and I will take some pictures of Amani's little veins to show you them as well, which can help with your whole process. So I hope you guys are going really well. I hope everything is turning out for you. Please, if you have any questions, just pop in the comments below and I'll try to answer them the best I can and the quickest that I can. But other than that, all I can say is happy reborning and have a great week. Okay, bye guys.